Hello everyone, welcome back to the course Python Fundamentals Building Blocks for Aspiring Developers. We are in the second module, Data Structures, the first part. According to our agenda, we are at the 8th day where we will learn about dictionaries. So let's begin. So what are dictionaries? So dictionaries store key value pairs. They do not store just some values as we saw in lists, tuples and sets. Rather, they have a key and a value associated with that key. For example, the key can be anything. It can be the name of the country and the value can be the capital of the country. It can be, any different thing that we want. It is also an unordered collection. Now you see that you can visualize that it is slightly different than the previous data structures that we learned about. So here is how we can create a dictionary in Python. So it is created using the curly braces, but we have key and value pairs. So in this one, the first key value pair is name John. So name is the key and John is the value for that particular key. Then we have the second key value pair, which is age, and each of these key value pairs are separated by a comma. Now we can have integers or floating numbers or strings as the key or even as the value. It doesn't matter. So now let's have a look at the some of the methods of dictionaries. So first is the keys method. It returns us the list of keys in a dictionary. It does not return us the values, just the keys in a dictionary. Then we have the values. It returns us the values of all the keys as a list. Then we have the items. So it returns us a key value pair as tuples. So the tuples are within a dictionary, within a list. So each key value pair is a separate tuple. And then we have the get method. It returns us a value associated with a particular key. So if we do not have a key that we want to get a value of, it will simply return none. And then we have the update method, which helps us to update a dictionary, add new key value pairs, or even update the existing ones. So let's start coding. Again, I would open up Visual Studio, erase the previous code, and again you can use a new file or even update the same file. So let's begin. First, let's create a dictionary. So let's say my dict is equals to, we use curly braces. So here we want to give it a key. So let's say my key is name and separated by a colon, and here we give it a value. So let's say John. So now let's say age of John is 22. Let's say his score is 9.6 or something like that. So you see how dictionary can be used to store similar kind of information in one collection. So let's say you want to store some information about a student or any person, you can store it in a dictionary. You can have a name, then you can have a age, then you can have a score, you can even have other key value pairs. It could be phone number, it could be email address, anything like that. So let's go ahead and look at some of the functions or some of the methods of dictionaries. Now we cannot use indexes in the dictionaries because it is not a data structure that uses indexes. Rather, it is based on the fact that we use these keys to access these particular values. So first, let's look at the keys method. So what I want to do is I want to do print and say my dict dot keys, and again this will return us a particular list. We are not storing it in a variable, we are simply printing it out. Let's save the code, run the code. So this is how we have dictionary keys. So it has three keys: name, age, and score. You see it is also case sensitive. S is capital here, so S is capital here. So Python in itself is case sensitive. We have to be particular about the case that we are using. And now we can also get values in a similar way. We can do my dictionary or my dict dot values, run the code, and again we have the values in a list. So John 22 9.6, these are the values that we have in this dictionary. We can also do items. So we say items and run the code. So now we have these tuples. This is one tuple with the key name and value is John. Then we have a second tuple. Then we have a third tuple. All of these enclosed within a list. So you see, we can also have different data structures within another data structure. We can have a list within a list, we can have a tuple within a list, we can have a set within a list, but we will see about that in the second part of the data structures more in detail, where we will conceptualize this concept, visualize this concept. So the next one I want to do is I want to get a value for a particular key. So what I want to do, I want to do this dot get, and here I will enter the key that I want to get the value of. So I want to get the value of the key name. So it will not return us the key, it will only return us the value. Similarly, we can do for age like this. Again, it will return us the age, the value associated with that key. So you see, we used indexes in Python for lists. For example, if I had my list and I had these values, so let's say John 22 and 9.6. So these are in the same order. So if I were to access the name, I would use something like this. My less than 0 because it is at the 0th index. If I wanted to get the age, I would use this first index, and similarly I would use the value 2 for this one. But um, for dictionaries, we do not need to give an index. We can simply access the values using the keys. Because it is unordered, indexing also does not work here. And the final one we want to see is the update one. So for the update one, we do not need to print it out because it simply updates the dictionary. So I will just remove this one. And what I want to do is I want to add a new key value pair or a new value to the dictionary. So what I would do is I would do it in the same way how we create a dictionary in curly braces. What is the new key we want to do? Let's say email, and let's say the value of email is john at gmail.com. So now it is updated. So now if I oops, this outside of this, if I print my dictionary, so this value should already be there. So you see we have this value here, email, and this is the email that we put in here. So it is added to this one. Now there is also kind of a shortcut to do this thing. I could also write my dict in the square brackets. I can do this. In fact, let's look at this square brackets first. I can also do this and say give me the name. Let me just copy this one and paste it in the output like this. So what is happening is I'm saying my dictionary and get me the value for this particular key. So it will go ahead and get the value. It is the same as the dot get function that we just saw, but this is another syntax, another way of doing the same thing. So I will save it, run it, and it says John. Same exact thing as we did from the get. Like the same exact thing if I were to do this dot get, and then I entered the name in here, and if I did this, run the code, so this output and this output are exactly the same. This is just a different way of accessing the values. We are not using the dot get function here. We're just using the syntax to access the value by using a key from within a dictionary. So we can also update things like that. For example, I say my dict, and here I want to say I want to update the value of name, and I say is equal to simply my dictionary, the value of key that is name should be equal to now Harry, and now I can also print it out and see how it does. So it has updated that. You can also print out the complete dictionary just for a better visualization. Run the code. Now the name is Harry. Everything else is the same. I can also add a new field. So for example, I say my dict and I say last name equals to Harry. Let's say Kevil. So now this should be added to this dictionary. If I save it and I execute the code, I should have this last name here as this one that we added. So this is the same as using the update method, and this is the same as using the get method. There is nothing wrong with using the get method or even using this one. It is just a preference. This one just looks a bit small and tidy. It is easier to read too. So a lot of people prefer this one, but there's no harm in using the other one, the methods .get and .update methods. So this is how dictionaries are used in how we update and how we access different elements of a dictionary. So that was all in this lecture, and this brings the second module to an end. So again, keep on practicing the skills that we learned in this module, so that will um, make it easier for you to follow new things and recall them. So that was all in this lecture. We'll meet you in the next one. Up till then, goodbye.